Help me to understand this, y'all. And this goes for men and women across the board. Now, in large part, I'm going to be talking about the men, but, the women, they got their own shit, their own similar shit. And this is, what is with this I must have it all, mentality, right? That I just must have it all, even though it blatantly contradicts one another. It's like what I said, in reference to women, right? If you want to be Miss Badass, if you want to be the dominant female in the relationship, then that requires that you get with a man that is subordinate to you. And just like Aisha K. Faines when she was on the Grapevine, and Carl, said, I think you should get with a subordinate man. Miss Women Love Power lost her shit. I don't date nothing but powerful man. She lost her shit. Okay? And I'm like, same with the dudes. If you want to be a dude and you want to be in role reversal situation, don't complain later about being emasculated or disrespected. That you signed up for the bitch position, that's what comes with the bitch position. You signed up for the leadership position, talking about the women, then, that's what comes with the leadership position. You don't get to be tricked out on and have somebody, shower you in gold and shower you in gifts. And you don't get that if you want to be the one pulling out the big dick sword. I don't get people that, that operate. Now, that's just the women. Then we go over to the men. And this is, let me say this before I dive into this, right? For people who don't know me, or people who just, get into the conversation, or people who forgot, okay? I am the master of fuck it, let's go with that. I am the master of fuck it, let's go with that. I don't care what position you take either way. What I demand, however, is consistency. Consistency. Okay? I cannot stand inconsistency because the math doesn't add up and it drives me insane. Primary example, going back to Umar Johnson. General Seti, when you look in the mirror, you see a cracker, nigga. Then turn right around. And to my biracial sisters, you are African until proven otherwise. See, if we're going to reorganize the race, General Seti, when you look in the mirror, you see a cracker, nigga. Okay, all biracial people are out. Okay, Wakanda forever, and that's what it's going to be. And that's what it is. All biracial, y'all ain't black. If you light skin, you ain't black. All everybody out. Everybody, if you don't look like Idi Amin, get out. Right? On the other side, if we're going to be all-inclusive, multiculturalism, everybody's black, you can be, 1/16 black and you're black. Yep, at that point, I can go out and get a Scandinavian white bitch and still produce black children because they're still black. One drop, rule it to death. But see, people, they want to have the best of both worlds. Somehow they want it to be Wakanda, and then somehow they want to be able to promote swirl and interracial dating and then still call it pro-black. And that's as bad as the black leaders in Philadelphia that I came across that actually articulated the point that they can still be black elders and black leaders in the black community without living there. And like I said, show me the Asian community without Asian leaders in it. Show me the Jewish community without Jewish leaders in it. Show me any community without the demographic of the people in that community who are the leaders of that community. Okay? And so diving into it, right? So I'm getting feedback, private offline conversations about guys not being satisfied with their marriage. Okay? Nothing's particularly wrong. These are guys that had game swag. That's why I try to tell all the women all the time. I'm like, if you want the guys that got all the game and the swag and the charisma and out there banging bitches, right? Going back to what T.I. said, right? Women like niggas with hoes, right? And I'm saying the irony is another contradictory person, yeah, niggas like women with hoes, and then turns around, I don't want my daughter to be a thought. Well, how is it that niggas gonna have hoes and your daughter can't be one of them hoes? You see what I'm saying? Like, no fucking consistency. Everybody out here with contradictions, double standards, you know what I mean? And I don't know how somebody can sit there and talk out of both sides of their face. I don't understand it. Same thing with Dennis. Hate to bring him up, but I gotta point it out. One video he's talking about, hey, women like to date older men because we're established. In another video, turns around and talks about how dudes can run shit on a bitch's dime, and then starts bringing up the Bible and scripture, and in Corinthians and says, and the woman should follow the man, or what I'm saying, and all this. I'm like, bro, how is it a young man is going to get to being established like you if you start him off with, you can run shit on a bitch's dime? Like, how, bro, help me to understand this shit. What is with these inconsistent arguments? Here's my thing, right? And this is the part where I get irritated, right? I'm like, you want to run through a whole bunch of bad bitches? I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's not like I don't see bad bitches and don't want to run all up in them. Okay? You know what I'm saying? I love bad bitches. I got a fucking problem. Okay? I have an issue with monogamy and all that other shit. I do. It's hard. It's been hard for me. But see, the thing is, it's like, you got it. In other words, you want to charge me with a crime? Guilty as charged. Okay? You want to say that you running through a whole bunch of bad bitches doesn't contribute to the community? Guilty as charged. And I accept that. But what gets me are the other people out there that want to do the same thing, and they can't accept that. I'm like, this is not contributing to a community. If you want to go out there and you want to run through a bunch of bitches, I'm like, you're not contributing to the community. And motherfuckers be getting, they get all frazzled. I'm like, really? How are you contributing to the community and running through a bunch of bitches? And smutting them out. And then be the same dudes running through a bunch of bitches, then got the audacity to turn around and talk about, none of these women are wifey material. I'm looking for a virgin. You know what I'm saying? Just completely she has too many bodies. She's got more bodies than a cemetery. I'm like, oh my God, nigga, you running through all type of bitches. What do you expect? If everybody was on the shit that you're on, then clearly you're not going to have a whole bunch of wifey material women running around. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, whether people want to get married, people don't want to get married, or whether people get married and then get divorced because they're dissatisfied with their marriage because they still want to have one foot in marriage and somehow, be a dedicated father and a respected man in the community. But then at the same time, they want to be out there running through a bunch of bitches. You know what I'm saying? And they feel like they're a caged lion and I have to be out there with the hunt and I got to hunt bitches and all this other stuff. And here's my thing, right? And I'm saying it's starting to hit me. I'm starting to enter the midlife crisis, right? But I'm like, even I'm sitting there saying one day, this is how I look at it. One day there will be a woman that I fuck. And possibly it will be the last piece of ass I get. I've read this by black men, and it's they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, at some point between probably your mid 40s and until the day you die, whatever the last chick that you smash, that will be the last chick that you smash in 30 years. You see what I'm saying? That will be the last chick that you smash. It's got to stop somewhere. At some point, the last piece of coochie that you get, that's it. That's it. That's the last piece that you get. Or it could be the last piece of young pussy. Example, at my age, it's unrealistic for me to go out here and think that I'm gonna go out here and interact with a woman that's either 5 years my senior or 5 years my junior, and she's gonna be a virgin. You know what I'm saying? The opportunity to smash virgins realistically was in my early 20s. That was where you had the possibility of running into virgins. You know what I'm saying? But But if you're a guy and you miss that bus, you know what I'm saying, and you're in your 30s and you're sitting around talking about I'm looking for virgins to smack, dude, you should have already done that if that was a goal of yours. You should have already done that. You know what I mean? Or the whole situation, like, at my age, most women have children at my age. The idea of going out here, not that I'm advocating for messing with, single mothers, but like if you've re-entered the dating market in your 40s, okay, most of the women that you are going to meet that are going to be in the same age group as you or around the same age group, plus or minus 5 years, whatever, they're already going to have had kids. That's the reality. You're not going to get a womb that has never been used. This is the reality. It's a part of growing up. I feel like people are just secretly fearful of getting old. Don't get me wrong. Getting old sucks. Gravity takes effect. Wrinkles take effect. Collagen decreases. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these things, right? You get the aches and the pains, right? You start having, all type of issues, bowel movement issues, possibly sexual dysfunction issues. You know what I'm saying? Vaginal atrophy for women, dry vagina for women, erectile dysfunction for men. This is what goes on. You know what I mean? So it's like these people, and I get the idea that, look, just because your body is failing doesn't mean your mind necessarily changes. Okay? I get the whole biological argument of why men are attracted, to younger women. But I swear it's like this Peter Pan never wanting to grow up or never wanting to mature, thing that's going on. It's like, look, this is the reality of it. I don't know why people are having community conversations if everything that you want to do is antithetical to creating a community or having a community that is not, threatened, by outside communities. In other words, let's say, okay, everybody wants to do whatever the fuck they want to do, okay, which is pretty much what everybody's already doing. Right? Everybody's already doing whatever they want to do. And people yet and still are just, having kids, right? And who ends up suffering? The kids, because they don't get a proper foundation, right? And all black people are like, oh, that's okay, that's cool, it doesn't matter, no big deal, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. But the problem is what are other communities doing when we get into tribalism and group economics? What are other communities doing? In other words, if you have another group of men and women who engage and practice in sexual discipline, okay, and try to stay as dedicated as they possibly can to one another, which is, again, what you see in other communities, right? Not to say that they don't have any problems or don't cheat or anything else like that, but it's to a lesser degree than in the black community. And even if they do mess up like that, they try to save face. They try to hide it. They try to cover it up. Where black people are like, fuck it, so what? I say, who cares? That's how a lot of us respond to the shit. And I'm saying, if our group is competing against a group that has or demonstrates substantial levels of discipline, well, your group is always going to lose compared to the other group. Your group will always be subject to the power and authority and the whims and subjugation of other groups. Again, going into the whole aspect of legacies and generational wealth and all this other stuff, right? Like my whole thing is just like, if you're going to be pro-community, then be pro-community. If that's what your focus is, then that's what your focus should be, right? But if you out here and you're talking about you just going to be out there all willy-nilly and you just want to, keep fucking bitches until the brakes fall off, then that's not pro-community. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even judging anybody who wants to do that. I love bad bitches, it's a fucking problem. Okay, fine. You love bad bitches, you got a fucking problem. Okay, so you're just going to go out there and run through bitches. Fine. But don't sit there and try to act like you're somehow contributing to the community. I mean, this is like, in my mind, it's like, okay, this is just the downfall of Western civilization, and we're in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, the black community is the canaries in the coal mine. What happens to us typically happens to white people several decades later. Okay, you busting up of the household, divorce rates skyrocket, kids growing up out of wedlock and everything. That's what's going on with the white working class now. You know, that probably all could have been prevented if the white working class and the black working class came together and formed Voltron. But just like Bacon's Rebellion, the white elite were like, we got to make sure that doesn't happen, right? So, you know, they go up and they, you know, create, you know, sow the seeds of division, right? And you know, that's what transpires, right? You got the white working class, you know, they identify with the white elite, even though the white elite are fucking them over and everybody else over, but they don't see it like that. They see it as, no, we must keep them in power because we must maintain white supremacy, right? So you got all that dumb shit going on, you know. But you know, I'm like listening to people. I'm saying to myself, these conversations about community are pretty much pointless. Like they're done. If this is what people want to do, men and women. You know what I mean? It's like when I criticize the women and they sit there and they talk about how, you know, yes, equality, we want equality, and then some shit pops off. Then they want black men to be powerful enough to handle the problem that just arose, you know, and if they don't, I hate weak niggas. Niggas is weak. I'm like, but you were the one talking all that equality shit. If he's equal to you, then, you know, clearly, you know, he can't be more capable than you to handle a problem that you yourself can't handle, because that wouldn't be equality. I mean, it's just nuts. You know, like I said, the joke that I ran by Cap, he was cracking up when I said it. I was like, this shit is so stupid. It's like, yes, hypergamy, we want to date up. Okay, here's a man who makes more money than you. It's not equality. I want a man that I'm on the same level as. Sexist, misogyny. Okay, fine. All right, I'm going to make you make as much money as he's making. Okay, bam. She's making as much money as he's making. I hate weak niggas. I don't like equality because I want to be in a hypergamous relationship. He needs to splurge on me. I'm like, okay, fine. Get rid of him. Okay, here's a new guy. He makes more money than the new level that you're at, which you went from 100,000, now you're making 120,000 to match the previous guy that you were with because you wanted it to be hypergamy at first. Now you want it to be equality. Okay, now you're sick of equality. Now you want hypergamy. So, okay, here's another guy. He's making $140,000. Okay, now you're in a relationship. Okay, you're happy. Yes, I'm in a relationship with him, but I don't like it because he has too much power, and I want equality again. Okay, so what? I got to make you make 140 now? Okay, fine. You're making 140 now. I don't like this situation. Why? Because it's not hypergamous. I need a new man. You know, I'm like, okay, so I got to get rid of him and then bring in another guy who's making 160. Like, you see how stupid this shit gets? You cannot have it all, bitch. You cannot have it all. I mean, how many times do I got to say it? And the same thing goes for the dudes. You cannot be, you know, a respectable, dedicated father and community-minded and shit and run through bitches at the same time, nigga. You can't do it. You know, and it's like, and I don't know what people, it's like, yo, pick whatever angle you want to come at it from. You know what I'm saying? But goddamn it, be consistent. You want to run through some bitches? Okay, accept the fact that you're not contributing to the community. You want to hop the fence? Okay, accept the fact that you're not contributing to the community. You know what I'm saying? You want to be a father? Okay, then be a father and get married and do all that shit. But accept the fact that you can't then be out there running through a bunch of bitches. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the people who want to have it all, truth be told, they create untold amounts of damage in the community. You know what I mean? Do you really want to be the father whose daughter recognizes that you are out there cheating on mom, banging bitches? I mean, this is the reason why DMX's son doesn't talk to him. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why DMX's son doesn't talk to him. I don't know why 50 Cent's son doesn't talk to him. You know what I mean? But obviously they got issues. But I know for sure when it comes to DMX, I mean, he said that shit explicitly. You know what I mean? I don't like the way that you were treating my mother. And that's what people like, they completely ignore. And then same with the women. The women, they want to be in role reversal and everything else like that. And then when they end up with weak sons that no women want to be with, it was so crazy is with like when black women run around the internet slamming black men about how weak and pathetic they are, and all the majority of these weak ass men were raised by single black mothers. Or women who went out there and got with subordinate men. So how is the plethora of weak ass black men in your eyes not a reflection on black women? How is that not a reflection? You see? Because the same thing, with women being overweight, that is a reflection on black men. You know what I'm saying? How many gyms do black men own, operate, and control in the community? Now obviously that gets complicated by, freaking, mother of the earth and all this other shit. Like 6 Goddess pointed out, how do you check the mother of the earth? Because we have that type of rhetoric in the community. Like white men don't have to deal with ice queens and Valkyrie bitches from the gates of Valhalla. Like they don't have to deal with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like white women aren't coming through talking about I am the daughter of Odin. Like they don't come off like that. You must divine, Icelandic principles and shit. They don't say that shit. But in our community, it's very prevalent for that to be said. Because everybody's trying to, trying to manufacture a legacy or manufacture, a history. Right, kind of like how the dude with the funny mustache, went off and came up with the whole Aryan concept and whatnot. But I'm so sick of black people's inconsistency. You know what I mean? And it's like it's like they don't want to take any L on any front. I'm like, you want to run shit? Okay, understand what comes with that. You want to play the subordinate position? Okay, understand what comes with that. You know what I mean? You want to run through a bunch of bitches? Understand what comes with that. You cannot claim, the respected position when you're out there doing some fuckery or you're out there doing some ass backward shit. And it does require discipline. It's not easy. It's not easy to be married. It's not easy to raise kids. That's why it should be a respected position in the community. But the other thing is, why I think I ran this by somebody. And I said, I think a large part of the problem when it comes to black men after they get married and they go through this sort of crisis in terms of their marriage and, the thrill of the hunt and everything. No, I believe that it's because they're not preoccupied with, networking and building with other black men, like how you see in other communities. And then they immediately deflected to, well, I know white men that have the same problem. Yeah, and those are the white men of the lower socioeconomic, spectrum of the ladder. And as I've said many times before, the white community can afford some assholes. Black people can't afford to be fucking with the dials. I mean, straight up. We cannot afford that shit. Leave it alone. We're already damaged. The community is already broken. Okay, we need stability. It's like Africa. Africa's not going to get on its feet until all them damn civil wars stop. Name, and I'm sure people could name some, but name an African nation that has had some real internal and external border security, and no problems, no terrorist groups, no coups, no nothing for 30 years. For 30 years. There was it's just as peaceful as can be. You don't hear no drama. Everybody good. That's the only way that you're going to get children. Because think about it. It takes at least 20 years for children to grow into adulthood. And the children of the sound mind and the children that are comfortable and aren't, doing perpetuating, the negativity that was thrust upon them, like people who grow up in civil war and everything, their whole moral compass is way the fuck off. They're all type of fucked up. The only way that you can get around that, or the only way that you can extinguish that, is you have to have, 20, 30 years of stability. The kids having a normal childhood, kids not suffering and not going without. That way, they're emotionally sound and emotionally stable. And then when they get to adulthood, they'll be stable, sound adults. And they will be able to, properly raise their children, because they have a stable and sound foundation. And they will be able to provide and create one for the children and have proper orientation and everything else. That's why stability is extremely important, to the sovereignty of a nation. You can't have a volatile situation and come out with people that are going to be of sound mind. This is the whole issue with black people and them existing in prolonged exposure to poverty. You know what I'm saying? This is why white people try to pretend like they don't understand the shit, but they most certainly do, which is why they move the fuck around whenever they discover like, oh, this school district's not good enough or whatever. They make sure that they raise their kids in the best environment that they can afford. So to sit there and try to suggest that environment doesn't matter, that's bullshit, because they move around, based on the environment. Say, oh, this is no place to raise children, and they move the fuck out. But I'm just like, there's too many people, male and female, who just want it all. Things that just blatantly contradict each other. Black people just might as well walk around with these oxymorons and shit like that. Men just walk around like, yeah, what I'm saying? I want, basically the Madonna. I want a virgin slut. What the fuck is a virgin slut? You know what I'm saying? And then like black women will be walking around. Yes. I want a weak, powerful black man. What the fuck is a weak, powerful black? That doesn't even make sense, bitch. He's either powerful or he's weak. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you can't be weak, powerful. What the fuck is weak, powerful? And again, like, it's just, like, this is what I see from people. I'm like, okay, this is what if everybody is on this, then clearly this is not going to fix the community. Like, especially if people try to draw along gender lines, like they're going to say, yeah, because, black women are fucked up, so we all on this shit. Well, that's not going to produce a community. Same with the women. Yeah, we on this shit over here because black men are, they're the enemy. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to produce a community. Not a black community. And everybody love to say pro-blackness and pro-blackity black and black community this and that. And we want a better, brighter community and everything else. But as I said a long time ago, I was like, black people don't want to be obligated to one another. I don't even know if they want to be obligated to anything. This is the byproduct of that, this sort of rugged individualism mindset. Well, I should be able to do whatever I want to do. And it should have no impact on other people. And other people can't judge. And I'm like, actually, it does have impact on other people. And especially if you get to a critical mass of people that are doing the same thing. Look, I don't want to live in a neighborhood full of single mothers. I'll tell you that right now. I don't want to raise my kid in a neighborhood of single mothers. And as a heteronormative cisgendered black man, I don't want to raise my kids in a majority LGBT community. Let me say that. Let me put that on record. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to raise my kids in a role reverse community where the men are either absent or, the men are in subordinate positions. That's not an environment I want to raise my children in, let alone have a wife in. Because the women on that block are going to be all in my woman's ear talking about, did you know you can take half? Did you know you can take half? You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, like Eddie Murphy said, Fufu comes walking in the door. You know what I'm saying? Peter, I want what's coming to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait, what? You want what's coming to you? Nah, man. Like, no. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're just messing your whole shit up. Just be like putting bugs in the ear to get your woman to be on the same fucked up shit that another woman is on. And you're not going to be able to one-man army that. You outnumbered. It takes a critical mass of people to have a community, A community is a word that only works in the plural. It's a plural word. It requires plurality. If that's even the right terminology, if I'm using it. But I'm saying, it requires there be multiple people. You cannot one-man army a community. You cannot stand in the middle of the street and say, I am a community. That you can't do that. You got to have a bunch of people with the same goal and the same orientation, you know what I mean? And the same objective in mind. The same needs, the same wants, right? The same necessities, and they work in concert and work together to achieve that goal. You know what I mean? Black people are like a basketball team where everybody thinks they're Allen Iverson and nobody passes the ball. I mean, shit is just retarded. And all people want to do is complain that, how come our community don't look like other communities? Abandon ship. And they want to go and go into other communities and, try to leech off of the other communities and intermarry in the other communities and then claim, look, if I hop the fence and I swirl it up, whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm saying? I am not going to be, sitting around online talking about black community and pro-black community and black community. Like, no. At that point, I am a card-carrying member of the beige community. I'm a card-carrying member of the interracial, community, not the black community. And people, man, they get frazzled when you point that shit out. And I'm like, nope, sorry, definitions matter. Definitions matter, as if colorism hasn't highlighted that fact. Definitions matter. Because when they don't, what ends up start happening is people slickly start trying to creep their bullshit in and then redefine things. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like today, if you talk to any young child and you ask who invented rock and roll, they'll probably say white people. Because they're like, well, black people, all they do is hip hop. But I'm like, actually, rock and roll started with black people. But white people came through and black people gave it up. And next thing you know, you pretty much have 0 rock bands that are black, and you have nothing but white bands, that play rock. And that's a whole nother conversation about the music programs being cut out of inner city schools. And now you have young black people who they can't read or write music, let alone play it. No instruments. You know what I'm saying? Philadelphia still has some because you got the School of Musical Arts, right? So there's a lot of musicians in Philadelphia. This is where the whole neo soul, drummers, guitarists, and everything. But to be honest, it's not too many black people. It's becoming less and less black over time. Okay, less and less black over time. So, this is how you lose elements of your culture. And then, and if you look at it, a lot of the positive things attributed to black people have essentially been lost over the decades until you're left with nothing but, the fuckery and the bullshit. And then people say, this is black culture. This is what you are. This is what all of you are. This fuckery over here. Man, people they kill me with their lack of consistency. You want to do what you want to do? Fine. But don't sit there and try to pretend or fake and act like, you're contributing to this better, greater, awesomer, black community. Like, don't sit there and try to act like, you're contributing to that when you're not, because you are either contributing to role reversal or ass backwards orientation, or you just want to run through a whole bunch of bad bitches. It's just like, okay, well, I guess nobody's satisfied. Either way, however you want to justify it, if you don't have intact nuclear families, then, you're not contributing to, a better black community. And if you want to say, well, why can't we do it differently? Is it working for us? Show me where this is working. Show me where what black people have been doing for the last 30, 40 years with all these kids out of wedlock. And show me where this is working. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that all of that is, our fault, because much of that is directly tied to black men not being gainfully employed and, the denial of access to economic opportunities. But the problem that I have is now you got people, they drop anchor in the bullshit, and now they want to claim that this is the new normal. And I'm like, if this is the new normal, and some of the people who think it's the new normal, like they're so entrenched in it that they don't even realize, they don't even know like how far off base we are, because they've never seen it. They never grew up in an intact home. So talking about, two parents in a home, nuclear family, mother and father loving each other, playing with the kids, like they can't even picture that. My dad was never in the picture. Hell, my father's father wasn't really in the picture. You know what I'm saying? And do my father and I have somewhat of a slight estranged relationship? Yeah, because, he doesn't, he does this certain aspects of him that, my dad wasn't the type to be like, oh, son, I love you. Like that is not in my family, and has that affected me? Yeah, sure. Cause I get told all the time, by women that I have, not necessarily intimacy problems, but, I'm not really verbal about my affections. But what I've been told is my love language is that I'm a doer. I like people to do for me and I do for them. And that's how I show, my love. That's my love language. I'm the doer person. I don't sit there and be like, oh, honey, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I that's not me. My thing is surprises, gifts, going places, being spontaneous. If you need me, I'm there. You call me and say, look, I'm, something is happening. I'll drop what I'm doing and I'm there. You know what I mean? Quiet as it's kept. That's the biggest one that probably got most of the women, the ones that I actually had to put in some serious work in to try to get. Those are the ones, they asked me to be here somewhere or do something for them. And they're like, damn, he's actually here. And what's so crazy? And I was talking to Cap about this the other day about how shitty a lot of dudes out here must be, because I have definitely gotten pussy off of the strength of just consistency. Like just off of the, not even game, like just off of the strength of like, yo, that's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Just doing something, showing up, it's like, yo, it's no big deal. Oh my God, you came. Like, I'm like, damn, like, I mean, yeah, isn't that what most dudes would do? Like, I'm like, this is so basic. Like, this isn't even like some shit that a chick should be impressed about. But I can tell you that there's a lot of women that are impressed by basic shit like that. And, I'm sitting there, I'm like, God damn, are niggas just that fucking sorry? Are we that sorry of a group of men that I can go out here and I'm courting a black woman and then, I just, do some basic shit and she's like, oh my God, it's like, it's really not, oh my God. But, again, like, and then not to mention, like, here's a double-edged sword, because then that makes me question what the fucking type of bullshit ass nigga she was fucking with. If this is impressive, then what the fuck were you fucking with? And I've only had one woman that admitted, that her ex-boyfriend was, complete bullshit. And what was the main issue? She was, overweight. She was overweight at the time, and basically that was the only type of good dudes that she could attract. And so now she recognizes I got to keep my weight in order, because I see that, being, in that, over 160 pound area, that's where you start attracting the bullshit. So, trying to think what else, because I'm trying to squeeze a couple things in this video. But I guess that's it. I guess that's all I have to say. I made, several of my my points. I'm trying to make sure if I can squeeze it in here. No, I think that's it. I really do think that's it. But I just can't. I cannot. Like my whole thing is I'm like, I need people especially people who file complaints. You know what I'm saying? If you a complaint filer, ooh, your shit better be consistent when it comes to me. If you want me to feel some type of way or empathize with your plight, oh, your shit better be consistent. I better not see any inconsistencies in there. I'm like the IRS in this bitch. I will send that form back to you for you to refill it out. I'm like, you might want to correct that right there, because that's a problem. But it just kills me, man. People, it's like they literally want it all. And then the crazy part is they want it all, and then they're doing something that's antithetical to the problem that they identified, but then they want credit for the solution that they're most certainly not contributing to, right? Because remember, they're antithetical to the actual solution. I'm like, well, you're not contributing to this. So why do you want credit for this? Again, these are the people that say, oh man, I can participate in the black community and still give back. Yeah, technically speaking, you could give back. Maybe you give to some church or some organization or YMCA in the inner city, and you don't live in the inner city. Yeah, that's contributing. But unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? You can't take credit for the whole shebang. Like, you can't just walk in the room. Why? Because if you do, you're simply an example of leaving. Like, so while you did patch up the boat on one side, you drilled a hole on the other side. And they don't see that. Man, I'm contributing to the community. Man, I donated $500,000. Okay, you donated $500,000. I just threw that number out there. You donated $500,000. But you're married to a white woman and you don't live in the community. So what are you an example of to all these little black boys? Man, when I get home, man, I'm going to get me a white woman. I'm going to move to the burbs. So even though your $500,000 is helping and contributing to the community, because you're such a prominent figure and you're splashed all over the place and you're all in the fucking cameras and everything, you know what I mean? And the media loves to highlight black men with white women. Well, guess what? What you're contributing to the community that's benefiting the community. On the flip side, you have this other issue, that's sending a completely different message, a completely different mixed message. And then that's when you end up with, this sort of, confusion. I can one drop rule to death. Oh, my kids are still black. Oh, I don't have to live in the community, but I can still contribute to it. And then it's like, is the outcome of that going to equate to the community that everybody claims in fantasy that they want to see? No, it doesn't. So I'm just saying, I don't know why people can't just be consistent, or why people can't realize, like, let's just say I became a millionaire and shit. I would do shit for the black community, but you know what I mean? If I married out, like, I would be like, I'm in the back. I'm in the background. Because I'm not trying to, but see, you get people, man, they come up, they're like, no, well, just because I'm over here doesn't mean, no, I will be recognized. I'm like, oh, you're so stupid, man, just stupid. Damn. I mean, we're just not getting, like, you putting that shit on Front Street. You're sending mixed messages. You're telling little black girls, oh, they not good enough. And then when a black man gets money, he got to go out there and get another. And then you're telling little black boys that, yeah, when you get on, little nigga, you got to go out here and get you one of these exoticals. You're not recognizing, like, the other the silent signaling that you're doing. Like I said, I am the master of fuck it, let's go with that. I can go in either direction. I can attack it from any angle. Okay? But you got to realize that, you can't have it all. It's like the sliders in the game when you're making a character in Madden and shit. You can have the power. You only got so many freaking tokens or whatever, or marks. You can have the speed all the way up, but the power is going to be all the way down. You can have the power all the way up, but the speed is going to be all the way down. You know what I mean? And you can have power and speed as high as you can put them, but it's only going to be 50% of the max for each of them. And that is the reality. It's like, I don't know why y'all like fucking with the dial so much. I don't know why you don't recognize that everything else is on a slider. You are not going to go out here and just be able to have it all. You're not going to be able to go out here and have it all. And it doesn't even make sense to have it all. It just doesn't make sense. You got high pressure, you have low volume. You have, high volume, you have low pressure. Like, that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? If you're a strong woman, chances are you with a weak man. Okay? And if you're a strong man, chances are you're with a weak woman. And I know people don't like to put it in those terms, but that is the reality. Only one person can be strong. Can't be a strong woman and then your man is stronger than you, because then you're bitching about the fact that it's not equality. But then all women want to date a man that's stronger than her. Honestly, you know what's funny? If black women took the same position that they do on muscles and height when it comes to black men, if they took that same position and applied that same mentality to black men and their finances, we wouldn't have no problems. This whole, getting with the program and all that shit would be significantly less of a problem. Because women don't budge on that. They demand, I demand a man be taller than me. You know what I'm saying? You won't see any women getting with a short dude, and then trying to convince herself that he's taller than she is, because we can obviously see it. But you will have women, they will come through and they will be blowing dude out the water, and they will be trying to come up with the idea that no, he's actually quite badass. I'm like, no, he's actually not. And again, all of this is relative. If y'all are cool with this shit, then that's fine. Accept it for what it is. But recognize that you are not challenging any of these other communities that have significantly more discipline and don't have all this sort of ass backwards orientation and role reversal going on. You're not going to be able to compete against them. If you want to say, well, this is how black people operate and this is how we should exist, fine. But you're not going to be able to go out there and compete against other groups that don't have your ass backwards orientation, regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong or sexist or misogynist or, whatever terms you want to throw at it. It's not woke enough. Okay, fine. Doesn't matter. They still winning. They still kicking our ass. They still got substantially more resources than we do. So unless you want to go off and exist and operate in a vacuum, I don't know what to tell you. But compare or relative to their community, no, our shit is raggedy. Our shit is sorry. So that being the case, if you're sitting around feeling some type of way because, we're on the losing team, then you might want to check your orientation, and you might want to check, the things that you, espouse, and you might want to show a little bit of discipline when it comes to, how you're going to move and navigate. What is your ultimate goal? What are you contributing to? Black people love to sit around online and masturbate about, pro-blackness and a better, brighter community. But then when it comes to the actual discipline of what it would take to contribute to a bigger, better, brighter community, they don't want to contribute to it. It's just all this, I don't feel like doing that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I want to do what I want to do. So what? All this bullshit. And I'm like, look, one person on that bullshit, that's cool, But, a whole block, a whole neighborhood on that's a problem. That is a problem. You've went past the critical mass. This is why communities have always maintained a high level of shame, a high level of criticism. As Japan says, the nail that sticks up must be hammered down, right? That's how they got a proverb called that, right? You know how Africans have their, it takes a village to raise a child, all that shit. Yeah, the Japanese, it goes something to the effect of, the nail that sticks up must be hammered down. In other words, everybody's got to fall in line. If you don't fall in line, we're going to put you in line. That's how they operate. That's why when you go to Japan and you get on the train, you can't be talking on the phone on your train. It's considered rude. You're standing out. They don't want you to stand out. Now, arguably, Japan and their high suicide rate and everything else. Obviously, there's issues that Japan, the hikikomori or komori, whatever it's called. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a lot of issues, unresolved issues, lack of communication and everything else. You know what I mean? So no community is perfect. But, I mean, seriously speaking, if I could swap out some of that for the poverty that we have and eliminate the poverty, man, please give me that shit all day. Give me that. And then we can sort that out. Once we get out of poverty, then we can fuck with the dials. You know what I mean? But right now, people want to fuck with the dials, and I'm like, we're still in poverty, and all they're doing is having us go further into poverty. So, I mean, it's just frustrating. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.